For the start of the scouting report for strikers, please skip to 55:25. So 55 minutes and 25 seconds, if that's what you're here for. Thank you and enjoy. Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast with me and Andrea. This week, I'll do a little rundown of the kind of what we're going to speak about in this. So we're going to start with the game, obviously, against Fulham. It's quite a bit to talk about. We're going to have a little chat. Off that, we're going to have a little chat about the manager, because I think there's some words that need to be said about the job he's doing at the club and the job he has done at the club since he arrived. And then, of course, why probably most people are here, we are going to do our scouting report for strikers. There's a lot of chat about strikers. I think it's clear the club see that as a position that we can bring someone in. So we have, of course, as usual, got our own players that we like through a lot of research. Oh, just too much watching football games.
Endless research.
Never ends. Andrea, as usual, has got some graphics. He's putting the work in, whereas I'm just putting them on screen. So everyone thank Andrea in the comments, because he puts a lot of work into this and I massively appreciate it. But yeah, anyway, how are you, mate? How are you feeling about the game at the weekend against Fulham?
Good, man. Good. I'm good. I feel good also about the result, at the weekend, because of course I watched it. I have to confess, I watched it later. I rewatched it basically because of my other duties in Italy. I was at the Reggiana game. I managed to watch the start because there was a time gap between the two kickoffs. So on Sunday I managed to watch the rest. But before that, I'm having a good period, honestly, good week so far. So far so good. Managed to get some free time to get back to some readings. Reading some books,
Nice.
Especially my passions are history. So I'm reading one about the former Yugoslavia, the disgregation of the Eastern Bloc. The dissolution of Czechoslovakia. And I ordered another one, actually. So you see that I'm a madman, because one about history and the other one is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the playbook.
Nice.
I've never managed to read it. Of course, I know the story, but yeah, because in the festive period, usually they show they do the rewatch of all the movies in Italy. So sometimes it's like going back to when we were kids, when we were growing up. And I know we are of the same age. We both have the same age. We're gonna turn into 30 years old this year too. That sounds mad, to be fair. But I think when we were growing up, you could relate to the characters, because it was like growing up on parallel lines with the story. So yeah, apart from that, didn't play many games, to be fair. I know that you are the geek about Football Manager. I don't know how your career is going. There's a lot of people on Twitter that are asking me, yeah, you should be. I'm sure you are really into Football Manager. No, I don't like Football Manager. I'm honestly, it's too complicated for me. FC is better, absolutely. I found some good sliders too, and it's good because you can play with your friends, of course. So yeah, good about the game. Absolutely raving about Aronson. Honestly, what a game. Honestly, and the chances that he missed too. He could have scored again in this game. Gabi, of course, now we've heard, because we are recording when after the press conference of Daniel Farke, the press conference it just ended, and that Gabi Gudmundsson has an injury, hasn't trained. We'll see about if he can recover, in time for Everton, but hasn't trained so far. But he could have scored too, he could have scored too. So yeah, good on both, personal and Leeds bound. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I just to start, I've not actually played Football Manager in about 3 weeks. So yeah, I have kind of peaks and troughs with it, to be fair. I play it and then just get to a point where I just get a bit bored, to be honest. I don't know. I feel like every time I play it too long, I want to do the real thing. I get bored of playing the game. I want to actually do it. Do you know what I mean? So I'll stop. But yeah. So yeah, mate, the game was, I'm all right. I'm just tired and the usual stuff that goes along with getting up every day to get wet and cold outside, listening to screaming kids playing football every day is stressful. But we move, don't we? That's part of the process, I guess. It's part of it. You've got to put the hours in. You've got to put the shifts in. But hopefully through this, you're helping some young kid enjoy their football and make them want to continue doing it. That's kind of what I'm always thinking.
Like The Rock would say, it's about drive, it's about power. We stay angry with the power.
There we go.
I don't know if you've ever heard about that, when he made the song, he did the rap in a song, basically. The Rock, of course, Dwayne Johnson, it's so funny because he arrives into the scene, this video clip, and he says, it's about drive, it's about power. We stay angry with the power. It's like a sort of American rapper,
No, I know what you're saying, that's
sort of a meme, that part of the song, yeah.
I've not seen it, but yeah, man. And then obviously apart away from that, just doing my reports, my scouting reports for work. So yeah, just tracking along, still trying to get in some form of shape as well. Working out almost every day now. Have a few rest days because I've always been the skinniest person in the room. So I thought I'd change that. I'm trying to change that. So yeah, it keeps me motivated as well. It gives me something every day to kind of target, long term as well, to get fit and healthy. Because, like you said, we're getting old now, Andrea. We're ticking on a bit. 30 years old. So I want to keep my body right while I get older. So then when I'm older, hopefully it protects me a bit more. So yeah, apart from that, the game, I mean, and that's what I'll always say. At least this football club's making me smile every weekend. Honestly, I remember when the start of the season, I remember saying, I just like this team right now. I like the players. I like the manager. I like the vibe of the club. I like the way we're playing, the competitive side of it. We lost that for a few weeks. That was tough. But the last, since Man City, I guess, we've found that at another level. And there's a consistency to it now. And it's just a solid base of just competitiveness, I think. Every player wants to compete. They're not scared to compete. They've found their kind of confidence in every player they're up against. This week you're up against, this other world-class striker. And they're just like, yeah, so what? They're in the Premier League. I'm in the Premier League. We're here, they're here kind of thing. They might be at a bigger club in the Champions League, but we're playing each other in the Premier League. In that term, we're equal. And they are. We're here because we got here and we deserved it. And every single player in the team is competing every week. They're competing for their place. Everyone wants to play. And that's creating an environment of, competitiveness, right? But a good environment as well. And I think that is evident in the game against Fulham. Fulham are a good team. Everyone just thinks a name. Fulham, they've been in a championship not too long ago, but so are we. They've established themselves as a solid Premier League club for the last few years now. They've got some really good players there. They've got good depth as well. And they played some good football, but so did we. The first half was...
And with the same manager,
Yeah, they've kept that consistency, exactly. And that's also... Mark Silva's also a manager, kind of similar to Farke, who failed once or twice at Premier League level before that, was kind of told he is not that good enough, went down to Fulham, obviously came up, and now look at him. This is what happens when you get it right behind the scenes. You bring in the right players and you give them time to find that belief in that, we are a Premier League team mentality. And we found that 100%. I'm not saying from here we're going to win and draw every game. We're not. We'll go in losing streaks. But I actually have belief now that even if we do, I've got belief in me that we will get out of it because these players truly believe that we can stay in this league. And I don't think that's media talk. I don't think that's false. I think it's true. I think there's full belief in this team that we are good enough this season to stay in the league. And honestly, I think that stems from the leadership at the club, and that's the manager, the coaching staff, and the captain. For me, I think it always is. We always look better with Ibn Ampadu in the team.
Yeah,
Farke mentioned in his presser today. Yeah,
game changer.
Farke said,
leader.
He said in his presser, he's the most important player, and I completely agree. There's something about when he plays, we just look more intense. He sets the standard. He takes responsibility. He's a true captain of this club, and it's been so good to see Ampadu's journey of being this midfielder when he first came in. He was a very good player, but kind of got questioned, and me at times as well, as he got that leadership side to him. But he's grown into that role. Last year, second half of the season last year, he really grew into it. And this year, I think he just knows now. He knows what he needs to do. He's a good lad as well. You never see any terrible headlines about him or anything. He gets on with his work. He does his job. He seems like a great guy. You know, you've seen his interviews and in the little social media stuff they do with the club. He's always having a laugh. He seems like a good character. And it's important that your captain's liked by everyone. There's this narrative that a captain has to be horrible and you can't speak to him. It should be the opposite. You should want to and should be able to speak to your captain. They're the leader, you know, when the manager's not around. So, yeah, from him and Farke, I have full credit. Farke this season is just making me smile. Of course, this little, I know, Andre, your earlier subs and these little things, but these are personal preferences, right? You know, these are just, I'd like to see early subs sometimes too, but this is a personal preference.
You can like a manager, but also criticize him. You know, if you see something that you don't like, there's this notion that if you criticize a manager, then you want him out. You know, it's not black and white. You know, there's it's not a word of opposites. You know, to give you a Star Wars reference. You know, I just realized that, you know, the words of opposites. It's there's always a place, a middle ground in the middle. A common ground in the middle. And I think you can like a manager, you can praise when praise is deserved, and you like something and you criticize, you know. Of course, Farke, we always said, me and you, we like his style of football. He needs the player to play that. He needs the depth to play that, because at Norwich he never had. In the Championship he had that, but in the Premier League he never had that depth to play the football that he wanted to play with the back four, of course. Now the big change this season compared to his past is the switch to a back three. When he switched, he realized, okay, with the back four, he cannot go on. I need to switch to a back three. And now he's really, you know, he really wants to continue with these formations, because I don't think he really trusts. Of course, in game, we change to a back four at times, and it works because of that specific situation of the game. But I think long term, he really wants that back three, because it works better in showing the strengths in his usual style of football, his attacking mind, his style of football. So yeah, absolutely. There's patterns like the early subs. Sometimes the minutes that a certain player plays, for example, Tanaka. There's of course, last season there were these discussions too, you know, when people were talking about Gnonto, were talking about Joseph and Ramazani, but actually this time Tanaka has proven that he's Premier League quality. So even in the goal, look, he was involved in the build-up that eventually he made the pass to Ampadu for that cross, you know, to Mecha in the goal. So I think that Tanaka is always reliable. I would like to see him, like I said last week, I would like to see him involved more, you know, looking at his contribution. But so far it is working, the starting level, so no point to change it. Maybe another introduction in the second half, I think, can work. But if he doesn't play more minutes, I think we risk to lose him, honestly. And it's a player that I really see part of our future if we stay in the Premier League. I think he has a lot to prove, and can make a lot of contributions still at Leeds. So I hope his minutes increase. But Ian Farke is getting the calls, he's calling the shots, you know, and he's calling everything right at the minute. So there's no point in changing that. Of course, it's just, you know, details. It's just little details that make the difference. Like at Newcastle, Eddie changed earlier. I think we couldn't. We could have not lost the game, honestly. We wouldn't have lost the game. Confused the verbs. We would have lost the game. He had the change earlier. But yeah, it's details. We like Farke. Even in the dark those time, you know, when people were saying, I don't know why you're still backing him. Because analyzing what he does, the way he does, the mentality, you cannot find a single player at the club or the veterans that have left the club. Probably Bamford was a little bit, sore about how his time at Leeds ended, you know. But, you know, a striker always wants to play. Of course, now he's scoring by the Sheffield United. Look where they are in the table. Look at the season they're having, you know. It's a league down below, you know. So I think it was the right call to let Bamford go to the Championship at the start of the season. But yeah, I think you cannot find a player apart from specific episodes, you know, even the shots, the subtle shots, you know, Matteo Joseph in some interviews when he moved to Spain. You cannot find a player that he's not happy to work with Farke. Even Farke for now is not performing on the level he can perform. To be fair, but even the interview that he had with the BBC, he spoke very highly about Farke. So he is a Leeds United manager, honestly. And I hope that he can continue on this trajectory, because I think people will really know to appreciate him if we stay up next season when the club will invest and bring in new players. I think he can stay for many years, to be fair, if he's given the opportunity, if we stay up to invest a lot in the squad, next summer, if we stay up, of course.
Yeah, I agree. It's just on the leadership thing. That's the point about backing him. So I think when you've been in that, not that environment, obviously, I have to keep clarifying, because I know some people, when you've been in a coaching environment, is what I'll say, where the goal is not social, but the goal is to play football and win, because there's different types. Obviously, if you're playing in a pub league or something, you're having fun, you're there with your mates. But I'm talking about where you want to win, it's all about points. There's different types of managers, and we've always said this, and I've always stuck by this. Farke is a ridiculously good leader, and that is such an important trait for a good top manager. You need leadership. There's so many good tacticians out there that are not leaders. So the second the plan isn't working, they cannot galvanize all the players, right? They don't believe in what's going on. They'll question it. He doesn't know how to bring them together. If there's ever been a crack in the Leeds, in the Leeds dressing room, I'm sure Farke has dealt with it within a day. He's a really good leader. He's delegated really well who his captain should be. He wants people that are likable, and that's recruitment as well. Bringing Ampadu was a great move. It was that first signing, I believe. Great move. Good guy, good leader, good player. Perfect. Future of the club. Look at him now. Now he is. Now he's the captain of the club. That's part of football. You have to be a good leader. You're working with 25 professional footballers. You have to be seriously confident in yourself and in your leadership skills to control every one of them players, who all, by the way, want to play and start, apart from maybe, the likes of Byram, who probably knows his role, Keynes, for example. But most of them players want to play, they want to start. The fact that you've created this environment where, of course, you're not going to be happy if you're not playing, but you're not going to throw your toys out. You're not going to complain to the media. You're just going to get on with it and keep working hard, because you know that's what the team is, and you've got that team mentality, and he's instilled that. Of course, there's questions tactically on the diversity of that. I think it's took him time to realize as well, which is normal. Everything's a learning process, right? Everything. He's probably learned, okay, now's maybe the time to do that. Yeah, his job was potentially on the line, which was cruelly leaked to the media. And whatever reason, that's motivated him to change. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes at the brink of failure or whatever, that's when you change. And that's when you go, it was right there. And like I said, that comes to confidence. He's so confident in himself that maybe he was so confident in the one way we played was the right way. But now he's realized we can still play that way. We just need to adjust the formation or the structure, or we can go longer more because we have this profile. And it's about trusting the players we've got, which he does. And that's leadership. That's leadership for me. The tactics there are now being diversified in the games. We're seeing it. And I just want to give him full credit, because quite frankly, we're in a position now where we've got a real chance of staying up. And it's still a real chance. Stuff can happen. There's still other people that need to do their jobs in order for that to happen. But right now, in this current moment, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking the way we're playing. I'm loving the players. I like them all. They all seem like great guys that genuinely want this football club to stay in this league. And I'm buzzing, mate. And just finally on that, before we go into the scouting part of it, on being critical, again, if you're working in a coaching environment with other coaches, it's important that you can all be critical to each other. As long as you know that's coming from respect and in order to improve each other, then you should take that on. You should take that on board. Obviously, we don't work for Daniel Farke. So if someone that's not at the club is saying
someone suggested that in the past.
Yeah, I wish, I dream. But but this is the point, right? Say someone online's criticizing you, you think, because you don't know that person, you'd assume, if you're a player or a manager, for example, you would take that person like, who are they criticizing me? They don't know me, did they? But talk about that generally, having been part of an environment like that, being critical is really important. When I was at uni, I got a lot of things wrong, and people that were up higher up than me, in terms of the head analysts and stuff like that, would tell me what I'm doing wrong, how to improve. I didn't take it personal, I knew they had the right intentions. And it's the same for the coaches. The coaches we had there would always bounce off each other, criticize each other in a positive, constructive way, and it helped them improve and get better because they were all mates and everyone understood that it's the right intentions. And it's the same for players. Working in scouting, Andre, the entire, point of scouting is to find replacements for what players you've got. That's the idea. You're trying to find better players than what you've already got. But even them players that you're trying to bring in, they're not perfect. In your reports, you'll criticize them to say what they're not good at, what they can improve at. It's part of it. As long as your intentions are good, being critical is fine. But earlier on in the season, obviously most people had good intentions, frustration, which I understand. But a lot, it was disrespectful and it wasn't with good intentions. And as a manager of our club, who's done a lot for this club in the last few years, I'll always give Daniel Farke that respect.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
Absolutely. Before we move on, I want to underline what you said, because people tend to forget the situation he arrived into, he walked into after relegation with all these clauses, remember that game at Birmingham. Look at the starting 11 that day. And even in that turmoil, we managed to win, what was the scoreline? But that day, 3-2 or 4-3, I cannot remember, at Elland Road, in that month against Ipswich, we eventually got promoted at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So, and they had basically all their starting 11 already made, that day. And we were in the midst of a change of the guard in a certain sense. And we had players, Sinisterra played that day and scored, but he was trying to force his way out. You had, after the first match at Cardiff, Tyler Adams with his arms around Archie Gray, and he wanted out, I wanted to go out. He wanted to move out of Leeds, wanted to move to a different club. People tend to forget when he arrived, that he was signed by the 49ers in the midst of their takeover, from Andrea Rarizzani, and all the changes, I think, that happened behind the scenes. I think the mentality of the club now, you can really see that there's silence, professionalism. Of course, we can criticize the manager if we don't agree with something. It's part of his job, it's part of football. A critic is not an insult. Criticism is not insulting a person. One of the first things that I have learned in the past when I was part of a project at school was constructive criticism is fundamental. Is not an insult. It is not an insult. It's fundamental to listen to constructive criticism because it comes from a good place with good intentions, and with good background too. Because even the fact that saying, no, Farke cannot be a Premier League manager because he failed twice at Norwich, yeah, that's the surface. If you look at the table, look at the reasons why he failed. Look at the fact that it was one, if not the lowest budget in the Premier League at the time. People say Farke has failed on Borussia Mönchengladbach. They finished 10th. The season before and the season after, and even currently now, they are a mid-table side. They are a mid-table side now. They were a top side in the 70s and the 80s, when they had Lothar Matthäus and I think also Netzer played there, if I remember correctly. But it's not down to Farke. He failed massively at Borussia Mönchengladbach. Would turn Marcus Thuram into a number 9. That's one of the questions. One of the top 9s in the Champions League when he's fit. Unfortunately, he has a lot of injuries. But before that, Marcus Thuram, before he moved to Gladbach, he was considered, when he was at Guingamp, when he was in France, he was considered a winger, basically. He turned into the line he is today because the first time he played consistently in a position was at Gladbach. Will turn Rutter into a free roaming player. The position now, he thrived at Leeds. When he arrived, he was signed to be a number 9. He used to play a lot on the right too when he was in Hoffenheim. But Farke was the one that said, this is not a number 9, a typical number 9. The one that Victor Orta signed that January. I need to find a path for this player. I need to turn him into a different type of player, a playmaker, a free roaming player in the final third. And he did. He succeeded. He got us money with that move to Brighton, He had a clause, of course, so we could have got more money than the actual sum and fee that we got, Another example is this season, Brendan Aronson. Last season, he was playing in that area because we played a different formation. But this season, with the adjustment, during mid-season, during the season that Farke made in order to tailor the specific role. He studied actually what Aronson was doing. He believed in the player because he kept believing when it was getting whistled, it was getting booed. At times, people were complaining like as he won a concourse, as he won something, a ticket to play, there were comments like that. But he kept believing in the player, and eventually, when the right timing arrived, with the switch of formation, he tailored the role for him. He tailored the role because people say now he's performing very well in number 8. He's performing very well in the second striker. I keep saying he's not second striker or number 8. He's an advanced playmaker. Positions are positions only on the graphics. The actual role is different. It's not a standard role. So credits to Farke because in the end, Jamal Lewis, Max Aarons, they didn't live up to expectations looking at where they are now. But back then, even Todd Cantwell, he had developed those players. Emiliano Buendia, a lot of injuries for him, of course, stopped his upward trajectory. But Farke actually has worked and developed and improved players. That's a fact. Backed by a background check, if you go and look at all the previous seasons, and the current one with Aronson. Yeah.
Even the players that there's been about 3 or 4 I've looked, players that have complained since Farke left certain clubs. They're not playing any higher than they did when he was there. Some of them are playing lower. Yeah. So what does that say? Who was right in that situation? Who was right to drop that player? Who was right to ostracize that player from the team? They've not improved. I think Somerville as well is a good example, right? Yeah. And he was inconsistent when he played for us in the Premier League. He got a real good year in the Championship, and look at him now. He'd been linked to Spurs. So
they're absolutely battering him online too. The West Ham fans, they say he's been very poor, never consistent. It's not a good environment now because of the confusion behind the scenes, the lack of direction of West Ham. But look at him, even when he played against us, he still looks like the same player that was in the Championship. The problem is that you cannot be that same player in the Premier League. You need to perform on different levels, and he hasn't succeeded there.
But that's the thing, right? Like you said, Andre, it's environment. Look at Archie Gray; he's getting criticised online as well. They were in even Rutter, I've seen it in recent weeks because he's dropped off. They were in such a good environment at this club, and who's that down to? It's down to the manager. He was in such a good environment. Even the most criticised players, like I said, Aronson. Look at him now. Didn't work for everyone, obviously. Like people like Jack Harrison didn't quite work out. He's now left. But for the most part, this is a really, really good environment for most players. And Daniel Farke is the head of that. Coming off, I don't know if you watched the Square Ball propaganda.
No, I haven't this week. No, I've read something, but I didn't have the time, unfortunately, to tune and see. I've seen that online, of course, but yeah.
And look, this is not personal. I don't do that. It's just I don't agree with the comments that he made. I think they're very wrong. Saying that he had to speak every day to players about social media, tell them, it's fine, I'll get the heat on social media so you guys don't have to. And the players would tell him that was the only time in their career that the managers took the flak. Do you think Farke is standing in front of the players when they've got criticised online and telling them to deal with cry about it? No. Daniel Farke is telling them, deal with it. It's part of it. He's trying to build these people to become stronger players. Look at Aronson, for example. You think every time Aronson got criticised on social media, Farke put his arm around him and said, they're all terrible fans out there. They're all terrible people. No, he would have told him, it's part of the job. Get on with it. And that is true. You can't be this person that's going to criticise the club you play for and expect the environment to be good. What Farke has done is he's got these players. He's made them strong mentally. He's made them all believe in themselves. A lot of them, as you can tell with Aronson, the criticism, whether it bothered them or not, it didn't affect them. They kept going. They kept trying hard. Look at them now. And the identity of the club is back for me. And it has been for a few years, but in the Premier League. And Jesse Marsh as well mentioned about the club. The fans cared more about transfers than the identity of the club, which I just found insane. Honestly, they say it better, so go watch it. It's great on their propaganda show.
I watch it. Yeah, unfortunately, don't have a lot of time during the week to watch consistently on YouTube. And my free time has been taken fully. I even put aside to do the graphics. The one the other things that I'm doing, outside of my usual jobs, but the graphics take a lot of time, in my free time. That's why. But yeah, I'll watch it, of course. They are good, the Square Ball, all of them done. Michael Normanto, I like Moscow when he was there too. I see now that Phil A is gonna be on in coming days. I've seen an Insta story from Phil that he was in the studio. Nice. So I think there's gonna be an episode with him. But moving on to we move on to the scouting report. That's I think we'll have to put a disclaimer at the start. We'll put the timestamps to filter, because people that are only interested in the scouting part, will see that, But on Marsh, very quickly before we move on, honestly, I think that Dave Okadai and Darko Milanic got, and Uwe Rösler got Leeds United more than him, in terms of mentality, even them, because Jesse Marsh, Rafinha saved us. Rafinha and the goal from Jake Harrison and the header from Strauch, there were already signs, negative signs that season. Marsh has done recently an interview in Italy, because he has a house in Tuscany. He said an interview with Gazzetta dello Sport, the main Italian news outlet on sports, because Jonathan David, because his parents are Haitian, of course, so David, not David. Jonathan David was not playing well for Juve, because I don't think he's a number 9. He's a second striker for me. Both him and Openda, they are second strikers. They are not like Vlahovic, So he did an interview, because he went to visit David in Turin, and he basically defended him heavily, said that he's a very good number 9, talked about Spalletti. Yeah, he always has that sort of philosopher aura, when he talks. But actually, he's doing that now in international competitions, because Canada had a very good Copa America last summer, 2 summers ago, actually, because time flies by the way. But yeah, honestly, with club football, he succeeded at RB Salzburg in a league where they didn't have the investment that Sturm Graz and the Lask Linz have now, for example. At the time, when he moved to RB Leipzig, failed. Moved to Leeds United, failed. He had the players, because they got him Christensen, they got him Aronson, they got Adams. He had a good squad that season. Mark Roca, Sinisterra. Yeah, the club actually invested for him, and he failed. The season after, he will stay up. So he will always be remembered. Honestly, to be fair, I don't care. People can say I'm wrong, can say I'm harsh, in that sense. But he'll always be remembered like the man that destroyed everything that Bielsa built, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it led to the chaos of Avi Gracia, the managers, Kubala, and the best manager that we had that season, by the way.
He's doing really well at Lincoln. Just to shout out to Skubala. He's doing really well at Lincoln. Doing really well there. Lower budget. They're doing really well. I think they're up top 4. They're doing really well. But yeah, I just want to end that on.
Yeah.
So when he mentioned about the identity of the club is not as important as like who's coming in, what transfers we're getting, stuff. Dan Moreland said it best. He was like, "That's all we care about. Our identity is everything to us," and it's so true. And the best example, and what I want to mention is, I want to talk about my girlfriend in this, right? So she's from, as people may know, she's from the Far East. She's not from this country. Yeah. So she didn't know who Leeds United was really. Dad had heard of them, because when we were in the Champions League, her dad used to watch. But her dad liked Liverpool. She supported a team in China. She wasn't bothered about Leeds. Now, she loves the club. She loves the club. And she walks around, I'm not joking, she's been walking around on her phone with I Predict a Riot playing every 10 minutes. She loves it. When we lose, brilliant. It breaks her heart. She absolutely loves the club. I promise you. She's trying to get tickets to every game. She wants to go. She wants to go into the South Stand. She wants to be in there. She wants to sing. She's learning the songs. She loves the club. That's what Leeds United can do to people. That's the identity we have.
What have you got to the into, man? What have you got to the into?
I apologize to her. I messaged her the other day. She was at work. And she said, "I'm still not over the loss." I can't remember when it was. It was the other day. And the Newcastle one. And I went, welcome to the club. But she loves it. She wants more. And we watch every game together. We want to go to every game together. That's what Leeds United can do here. And it ruins a day now. And I love that. So that's the identity of the club. That's what the club is. it can suck people in, and you cannot get out no matter how much you want to. Exactly, impacts your life massively. So big up Leeds United, and screw everyone that doesn't like us. We are unbelievable, and everyone is welcome. You know, it's a great club.
And screw
fans all over the world.
Exactly, man. And screw
like
everyone
you,
who used to say, when it was in high school, everybody, why you support an English club, and then I said, you live in Reggio, why do you support you? Why do you support AC Milan? They're not from your town. Yeah, that's the same thing, you don't go to watch them every week, but you watch them every week on the tele, the distance, but, I feel like an adopted
there you go.
Yorkshireman in a certain sense, because the mentality, the way people think in Yorkshire, the way people think because of the Leeds mentality is massive. It's always keep going despite all the against all odds, and all the obstacles that we face, in our history. I think the history of Leeds played a big part when years ago I started to look at every team, in England on FIFA. I said, what's this team? I've already heard about them, and then all the history, but the first memory that I have of a football game, and that's madness, honestly, is that the goal of Lee Bowyer. And I didn't know it was Leeds at the time. I was watching because they were showing. And as a kid, we were watching every Italian team in the Champions League because they were showing on the mainstream media, Channel 5, basically. Not the Channel 5 UK, of course. The Canale 5 in Italy. Watch every UCL, even Italian team in the UCL, and the first memory that I have of a team there is AC Milan against Leeds. I didn't know it was Leeds. I realized that years later. I remember Dieter making that mistake, but it was like a sign. It was like in those fantasy movies, all that's integrated plots. It was meant to be in the end. Yeah. It was meant 100%. To be, and hopefully it's meant to be also that we sign a striker going into the number 9.
Moving on.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. Yeah, this time we don't have the introduction slide, because me and Loki, I think we have put every possible number 9 that we have encountered in our endless search. Searching for the Orchristix, we are searching for the number 9s in this case. But I wanted to start with Jørgen Strand Larsen, of course. I remember the first time I heard about that, it's the day when we recorded our episode 18, and then I went on, on Joe's podcast on Leeds United. The view was him and Paul, me, him, and Paul, and we actually talk about Strand. I said to them, when I first read the news today, it was like talking about Leeds history, when because it's like a recurring metaphor, it's like when you need to say, oh no, that's impossible. When Leeds tried to sign Maradona in 1987, when he was like the best player in the world, and if you go and check on Google, that there's also articles about that. Bill Forterby tried to sign him, and in 1994, when they're trying to sign Thomas Curavi from Genoa, he was one of the top strikers in Italy. So I said, no way. It's one of those rumors. We're talking about a player that was supposed to move to Newcastle, wanted to move to Newcastle last summer. And Newcastle put in a bid before they signed Voltemade, of course. Voltemade arrived because they didn't manage to sign Strand Larsen. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
They offered 55 million pounds to Wolverhampton, and Wolverhampton refused. And he stayed there. That's the reason, So I said, no way. We are conservative with our spending, He's a player that was wanted by a UCL side to be the replacement of Alexander Isak last summer. I said, no way. Then actually we realized, because Ornstein and Ben Jacobs, those journalists reported that, and so that's why I said, so something is going on then. Something is going on because of the season he's having, of course, because if you look at that, going to put my glasses very quickly on, he just scored 1 goal in the Premier League this season compared to last season when he was a goal machine, so the 55 million pounds value, of course, has dropped. It's unrealistic with Wolves edging towards the Championship. Of course, there's been articles about how the players will have a wage reduction if they go down. But the wage, I think, because they signed him from Celta Vigo in La Liga, I think his salary is very has a lot of weight on the finances of Wolverhampton. So in terms of salary, the price, I said, would be really difficult. But of course, I think we're talking about we'll be talking about between 30 and 35 million pounds at the minute. But from what I've read, so far, the only possible way is either financing it with a sale from one of our players, like for example Joel Pirou, because he has links from the Championship, link with top teams in the Eredivisie, in his native Netherlands. Of course, he's going to play for Suriname in the playoffs of the World Cup, but was born in the Netherlands. But the other way, if we don't want to sell anyone, because again, the stance on Pirou is he doesn't want to move. He wants to stay and fight for his place at Leeds, But sometimes you need to be harsh. That's my opinion at last, You need to be harsh and look at what your squad needs, I think financing a possible number 9 with the sale of Pirou, who's barely playing this season, hasn't scored a single goal. It's the viable way. The other one is bring in Strand Larsen, for example, just because we're talking about him. Spend 30 million. It's like loan with a mandatory option to buy, because in the end, the transfer materializes at the end of the season, and then you can wiggle a bit with the finances, But yeah, I still find it difficult. 6 days ago, when his name was because started to go around on social media, because of course they're trying to get a way out of Wolverhampton. They are going to the Championship. It's no mystery. His agent is offering for sure him, trying to find him a new club. I thought if Jean-Philippe Mateta moves to Juventus, then I think Palace have an opportunity to actually sign Strand Larsen, but then all the chaos unfolded with Glasner announcing that he was going to leave, Margay moving to Man City, Mateta wanting to leave, but yeah, now he's been linked with Palace. So yeah, but I made a slide, about him, because of course people say, oh, it's not good because he's just got 1 goal. Last season it was very good. I think his comparison with Erling Haaland, is the most realistic one. Is his backup in the national team? He has this immobility, good finishing in the box. Showed that last season in the air. The only thing for me is all the play is not very strong in the hold up compared to his body type, and consistency. The consistency in games, because sometimes he fades, in games, and he hasn't even started, in the Premier League recently, because they were starting with Wang and Toru. So that's why, what I think about him. This is a new one, of course. Everybody heard the news heard around the world of the passing of Opta on FBref. So on FBref. So I moved on FotMob. You have all the data here if you want to check per 90 minutes. So these are the stats. Then on 90 minutes. So it's like a percentage similar to what FBref used to do. This is, of course, the formation. So we're talking about a 3-5-2, used to that. The stats: start, sub, in, games missed, and the type of goals you can see on the map. 3 inside the box with his foot, of course, with his feet. 1 outside, 1 header, and 1 penalty. So that's why I mentioned Strand Larsen. I don't know if you want to add something, Loki, before we move on, because the next one is basically an overview of every depth at centre forward for every Premier League team, to see where Strand Larsen actually may go, if he wants to stay in the Premier League.
No, I've got nothing to add, mate. Fair. What I will say, though, just on goals and assists, that this don't judge a player in a terrible team where no one is performing. Judge the player when he was in a good performing team, which we are. He's coming into a good performing team. Judge him on what he could do in a good performing team. It's so easy to judge players based on how many goals they've scored this season in a bad environment. Judge them on what they do at a good environment or a better environment. I mean, even at Wolves last year, they were in a relegation fight, but the environment, they went on a winning run, didn't they? And it was a better environment. He was doing well there. Clearly, there's a problem there. He doesn't want to be there or whatever. I don't know what's going on, but he's not performing to the level where he can.
Yeah.
But assuming he comes to Leeds, the environment is great. He'd love it. So he'd play better at the end of the day. So yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. I think it will make sense, but financially, I think it's very, very complicated. The other thing, of course, it's looking at PSR and you need to look at PSR and also at the depth at every Premier League club, because in the end, if you look at the top teams, because he was wanted by Newcastle last season, of course, they signed Walter Mad after him, and then they have Johan Wissa, now he has returned, of course. They even played when they were injured with Anthony Gordon as a false nine. But I don't think there's a practical chance in the current top end of the table, because look at the depth of Arsenal, of course. Now Gabriel Jesus returned, Kai Havertz still out. Then you have Marmoush and Haaland and Man City. The probably only one can be Aston Villa, the other one, because in the end, playing in the Europa League, they have Ollie Watkins. Daniel Malen has left on loan to go to Roma. Leon Bailey was on loan to Roma. He's returning, but he's a winger and he's probably going out again on loan. So the only natural 9 at the club is Ollie Watkins. Of course, you have versatile players up front like Gesonde, like Morgan Rogers. But the only real 9 for me is Ollie Watkins there. So if they are looking to bring in another 9, I think Strand Larsen can be an option for them. Looking at the other clubs, of course, the other one can be Everton. There were rumors about a swap deal with their parent club, because the ownership at Figby Group is the same one with Roma. Dovbyk moving from Roma to Everton, and Beto moving from Everton to Roma in the opposite direction. But Dovbyk is injured now, so probably not going to happen. Another one, but again, are they willing, after what they spent in recent times, to spend again 30, 35? Brentford, they are doing very well this season, but they just spent for Caiefuro, very young player, of course, from Club Brugge. They had the only physical 9 that they have is Igor Thiago. They have, of course, Schade. They have Lewis Potter. A lot of versatile players up front, but the only 9 is Igor Thiago. But again, I don't see very practical, honestly. Look, I don't think Brentford are looking to spend that sum, honestly. And the other ones, Raul Jimenez, Rodrigo Muniz, they have 2 9s there already. Look at Brighton, that they have. Rotor is playing at times as the 9, at times he's playing as in the number 10 position. They have 2 very good young players, at the club, Costulas and Simas. Look at the depth of Tottenham and Bournemouth too, I think another one is Mateta leaves here. You have Nketiah and Uche. Uche, of course, can play in different positions too, but I think the practical one is Mateta leaves, then they're going to reinvest the money with, for example, Strand Larsen. And the other ones, looking at the lower end of the table, of course, we are covered with those 2, Calvert-Lewin and Mecha, but we play with a 3-5-2. So we have 3 strikers. Pirot has played in the 9 in the Championship. I don't think he's a 9 in the Premier League. So having another one, like playing with Calvert-Lewin and Strand Larsen up front, Strand Larsen on the lone 9 and Calvert-Lewin behind him, with 2 more traditional 9s, I think it's viable. I think it is. The other thing is Forest, for example, Igor Jesus, Chris Wood had injury problem this season. Taiwo, Ivoni, 2, he had problems. West Ham, Carlo Mason is going to stay now. They have signed Castellanos and Pablo, so they are covered. Look at Burnley, Foster, Broya, Fleming, Barnes, and Amdouni is still injured, but he's in the squad too, so when he will return. And Wolves, even a swap deal, I think when you can lower down the price, because Pirot is very good in the Championship. Like, he really wants to have a shot at the Premier League. He really wants to try to see if he can play in the Premier League. Try to offer a lower sum to Wolves with Pirot included in the deal. They can have a very good player in the Championship next season, and you can get, Strand Larsen, that is a top player for me. Of course, this season, everyone at Wolverhampton is not performing well. Even Vang and Tolu. Everyone is struggling at Wolverhampton, also because of what's going on behind the scenes, But yeah, I think the viable solutions for him are like Forest because of the injuries, Palace, and Brentford less likely, and Aston Villa. Honestly, Aston Villa, Everton, they already have 2. Unless Beto goes, I don't see them moving for another striker, honestly, in his place. So yeah, I don't know if you want to say something on this one, Lucky, on your take on possible solutions for
I
him.
think the standout is the only ones that seem to be getting money for a striker in this window are Crystal Palace with Mateta. So that is like for like in that sense. Whereas the other clubs, they have to, they will be buying from the full month, right? You know what I mean? They're not replacing a striker; it will be adding to it. Whereas the Palace one would be replacing the Mateta, which is you'll get money for. So yeah, that's probably the most likely for me. Look, if you're in there, try to get involved. I mean, obviously, he's a very good player in a good environment, would thrive in the way we play as well, especially with people like Calvert-Lewin around him and Metra as well, experienced players. So yeah, that'd be a good one for me. I agree. It will be tough though. The money's interesting. I don't know about money, mate. I just give name of players. I don't know the finances. You will explain.
Here we have the money. Of course, PSR. I want to quote also something that at the start of the season after the deadline, quoting an article from the BBC written by Adam Pope on September the 3rd, after the window ended, when there were quotes from Robbie Evans, the managing director of Leeds United, and he said, this summer we spent everything we could. Unequivocally, we are maxing PSR out this season. If we had gone on to other targets, because every one of you remembers that we missed out on targets, at the end of the summer window, or onto higher price players back in July, the consequences would have been seen in the current roster. The players in August would not have come in, or more key players from last season would have had to go. There were only a handful of players that were worth even considering making those kinds of sales. And when those top players didn't materialize, we held on to our key players instead. So that's what's the strategy, retaining the likes of, naming the article, Autanaka, Pascal Strauch, and, for example, Joel Pirot in that case. And surprisingly, the players that have the highest PSR profit are the ones that are the most critical ones to our success last year, and the most important for our success this season. Next year means this season. So rather than sell them preemptively on the expectation of having somebody for whom that capital could be better deployed, we ticked off all our highest priority boxes first and foremost. We didn't think it was wise to lose those players. The quality they bring, the continuity from last season, the familiarity with Daniel Farke's strategy and his process adds a ton to our squad. So unless selling them was enabling something truly unique and differential, we'd rather have them here. So that was the strategy at the end of the previous transfer window, So I'm wondering, has the strategy changed? Like, for example, selling Pirot? Because of course, the main worry and the main thing that is stopping us PSR-wise, because we are in a good position still, in the end, because the results so far, the forecasted one, this is a good website to watch everything related to PSR Watch, an independent project, very good, very reliable. The forecasted one, if you look at the three-year period, of course, from the first season we were back in the championship to this season, it's 72 in the end. 72 is like the result of PSR so far. So we made profit in the end, plus 72. There are other clubs that have made losses. We made the PSR period where we made losses was the one when you had 2 seasons under Radrizzani in the end, the previous ownership. So you can see, because that's why I mentioned, at the start, look where we were when Farke arrived, because we heavily spent in those seasons, Christensen, Hawk, Llorente, all these players, of course, that we had signed. So there were losses, We spent a lot this season too on players coming in, Stach, of course. You had also frees, so like Calvert-Lewin, like Mecha, but you had also players where you spent to get them to the club. So the thing with PSR is, if you look at the start of the season, the only income that we had from sales was very low, because there was the permanent move of Rasmus Christensen to Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt, then the moves of Diogo Monteiro and Sam Greenwood to Aruka and Pogon Szczecin. All the others were Firpo went on a free. Bamford, it was a mutual termination of the contract. Then you had other players like Harrison is going on loan to Fiorentina for financial reasons too. Ramazani, Gerhardt, Joseph, Schmidt, Weber. These are all loan moves, These are all loan moves. So in order to not outweigh the expenditure with the low income from transfers, a move like Buonanotte on loan is viable. Otherwise, you are likely to first sell a player in order to get some profit from that move, in order to have a larger headroom, and operate to get the signing like 40, 35, 30. But that's, I think, what we want to do next summer. So that's why they're trying to operate on a more conservative way this season. That's why people can go through, of course, the numbers. We are not accountants. We don't work in Canary Wharf. So yeah, I think we can move on. I think it was interesting because people can get a little bit of a more in-depth vision. This is the website, like I said, very, very reliable, independent project too, like me and you in a certain sense. Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the fun part.
Here we go.
Here we go. Finally, at last. Of course, we're going to start with the number 9s. I usually start with Italy. The first name is Matteo Pellegrino, 24 years old, moved to Parma in February 2025. So in last season, basically, in the winter transfer window from Vélez Sarsfield. He was actually on loan that season at Platense. At the start, he's a brawler, like I said, aerial ball threat, sacrifices a lot in possession. Like you can see, he's 6'4", 196 lbs, 89 kilograms, basically. Plays in a 4-3-3, and we talked about Valeri last week. He is a player that crosses a lot, and a lot of the goals from Pellegrino have come from actually balls gifted to him by Valeri. He's already scored 9 goals this season, 6 in Serie A, 3 goals in the Italian Cup. I think, despite the age, 24, not still young, but not young. Like for me, the young players are 17, 18, 19. Stop. That ends there. I don't consider a 24-year-old a young player. It's edging towards the upward trajectories in his career. So I think, but he still has, because he has moved to Europe very late, of course, last February. I still think he has a lot of untapped potential in the right system, and yeah, basically, like I said, constantly fights with the opposition backline, target forward, a poacher in the box. As you can see, also very also has from a fight, basically. So that's why he has that at protection after the fight. So yeah, here we have FB charts still with us in that case, so people can take a look about that. 43, like I said, and the goals, like I said, 6 headers. So you can see something similar with Calvert-Lewin. His awareness in the box, but the way he plays up front, hold up, fighting, is more similar to Lucas Mecha in a certain sense.
Okay.
So yeah, the thing that stands out for me is 6 headers in the heat map. 1 goal from outside, 1 inside. So just 1 goal inside the box with his feet. All the other goals have come, apart from a penalty kick, of course, from his head. 6 headers.
Nice.
And I think it can be viable. It can be viable, because this one, you remember the move of Retegui from Genoa to Atalanta? He was the top scorer when he moved to Atalanta. Atalanta took him to the next level. Now he's playing in the Saudi League. I think something similar can happen here with Pellegrino. So next one, El Toto Castro, Argentinian, of course. Santiago Castro from Bologna, 21 years old. He's been their main 9, a Lautaro Martinez type, very similar to him. Engages a lot with the centre back. Versatility with he's moving in the final third to try to drag the centre back with him, so moves a lot in the final third, like Lautaro does in a certain sense. Main trait is all the play, hold ups, and then passes the ball, attacks the space in behind. He's mainly a finisher inside the area. When he's outside the area, he's more like hold up. I'm involved in the build up. Look at me. Pass me the ball. I'll stop the ball. Pass it to you, and then sprint in behind. He's less involved, But he can work also as a second striker for me because of his body type, 6'0", basically. So looking at the way he moves, he's also versatile. Moved to, like Pellegrino, from Vélez Sarsfield to Italy, to Bologna in 2024, basically. So it's I think it's his 3rd season. Scored 7 goals, 6 in the league and 1 in Italian Cup. They're playing tonight against Celtic. It's Thursday for people that are watching tomorrow. So yeah, that's another thing. I think it's a move that Bologna, Sunderland were trying to sign Lukumi from them. I think it's a move that can happen if Premier League gets interested in him, because again, like I said, if you look at him, 6 is a finisher in the box, one header. He's not the strongest. He's not the strongest on aerial duels, for example. He's a more versatile one. Like the example, I've done this graphics more NBA style, if you go and look at the NBA scouting reports, especially for young players for the draft, they always put a comparison into those ones. I think football honestly can take something out of basketball, in that sense. So comparison, Santiago Castro, El Toto Castro to El Toro, Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. So yeah, different profile compared to Pellegrino. His backup, Thijs Dallinga, Dutch striker, is his backup because they have 3 strikers: El Toto Castro, Thijs Dallinga, and Ciro Immobile. Immobile has been injured for the majority of this season. Dallinga was signed actually from Toulouse. He did very well in France. He has improved, like I pointed out, a Chris Wood type, 6'3". The way he plays very similar to Chris Wood in a certain sense. Disposes quickly off the ball in order to attack in behind or follow the play. Like if you have Chris Wood in your mind, you know what I mean in this case. His reading of the game and finishing inside the box has improved this season. But I don't think Serie A is the right fit for him. I don't think he works in Serie A, honestly. And that's why the low amount of goals. But in the right league, like the Premier League or even the Bundesliga, I know that other clubs like Hoffenheim, for example, are interested in him. And Bologna might be open to a sale, to be fair. Because if you look at him, like, he's a player involved a lot in the final third when he's playing, but the problem is his goal output. Like this season, I think he has improved a lot in terms of shot selection, the way he tries to create opportunities for himself, but 3 goals is still very low because I don't think Serie A is the right fit for him. And that's why. That's the reason. Going forward, this one, I'm Obrate. I'll leave this one to you. The return of Onye Legendo. Ermedin Demirovic. This one is all yours, mate.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, I'm for whatever reason, I'm trying to manifest this one in my dreams. Yeah. I mean, we spoke about this guy a lot, haven't we? He just, for me, is the profile of player that would, particularly now as well in the front two, even more so. I think he'd completely suit what we're doing. But not only that, he'd completely suit the Premier League. He's again 6'1". He's relatively tall. He's not massive. He did play alongside Altamada last season, so he did look quite small compared to him. But generally speaking, next to a normal sized human, he's a physical player. And the frustration for me with some physical strikers, having watched a few for work, you look at them, you think, right, 6'1", looks strong, quick, but they don't like physicality. Demirovic loves physicality. He loves the physical game. He's got that mentality. He's got that kind of a harsh mentality to him where he don't care. He'll have a scrap. He'll have a fight if he needs to. He's that type of player. He wants to win. He wants to score. He's motivated. And you can just watch the player and know this guy, no matter what league, no matter what team you put him in, he's got the same goals. He wants to play. He wants to score. He wants to get on the score sheet. He's a loud mouth as well. Every time I watch him, he's always speaking. He's always demanding. But as a player, as a profile, I mean, let's be honest, it's just kind of mixed. He kind of does a bit of everything. But the key thing for me in the box is where he thrives. He's not, I wouldn't say, just from my experience of comparing him to other strikers, I wouldn't say he's got the quickest or the kind of the top max speed. But I think after, or kind of the first 5 to 10 yards, that quick kind of power, that burst of speed, that kind of off the mark speed, just to make that little run in the box, in and around the box, off the defender. He's got that, and he just got that down to a T. He does that really well. So for me, again, when he comes to feet, he's the type of player where he's got that physical strength where he can hold the ball. I wouldn't say it's his strength. I think he can do it. I wouldn't say it's the best part of his game, but it's something that he can do. You know what I mean? He can do that if he has to. I still think he's one where if you can just play off a striker, You can play into him, little 1-2. Like you said, he draws that defender out, runs into the space, calm and clinical in front of goal.
Yeah.
He just has the mentality. For me, a lot of these strikers, it's down to mentality. I think in the Premier League, it's about having that mentality to compete every week. This guy showed consistency. And what I want to speak about, just find it. I had it here.
Yeah.
So I always look for players. When I'm looking for a striker, I'm looking for a player who's got history of consistency. Really important, right? We can't have a one-season wonder who's had consistency. Mirovic in his last few seasons, been injured this year. He's back now. He scored the other week, having just come back. He's got 4 goals in 9 games this season. Last season, he got 15 goals in 34 games. The season before, 15 goals and 10 assists in 33 games. The season before, he got 8 goals and 6 assists in 30 games. The season before that, he got 5 goals and 10 assists. That's 15 goal involvements again. The season before that in Switzerland, he got 14 goals, 7 assists. Every single year, this guy has got over 15 goal involvements in every single season since 2019. Now, if that isn't consistency and competitiveness at the top level, I don't know what is. I could speak forever. Go on, I'll let you do a bit, Andre. Some little details if you want.
I think you said everything. I think the most important thing is that he missed 15 games this season because of a foot injury. So just returned and scored already. So going back to his track record this season, he was injured for the majority of it, but still managed to score 6 goals. 4 in 9 in the Bundesliga, like you pointed out. In the FB Pokal, 2 goals in 1 game. So it's a player that, like we pointed out last summer, he said this is the perfect fit. This would be the perfect fit for Leeds. With a back 4, I think it works too with a back 3 because of the fact that he's playing alongside Undav up front. So a more typical number 9 and a versatile mobile forward behind them. They also have Thiago Tomas. So they play different formations too. But overall, I think he has a very good package player made for the Premier League. So yeah, I think he's always reliable, and the fact that he's proven what we were saying last summer by scoring 9 goals in how many minutes? In 890 minutes this season. That's very low compared to other players in terms of minutes played. But look at the percentage of goals scored in that specific time frame. And in those minutes. That's absolutely. We're talking about a reliable goal machine, like you said. Looking at his career. And I have found also a player, not just because of the common Balkan origins, because Demirovic too was born in Germany, but also because of the body type, the way he plays, So I'm talking about Zhenan Pejcinovic. Of course, Demirovic plays for Bosnia. We're talking about a German under-21 international playing for Wolfsburg, born in Germany, but as also a Montenegrin passport. So as you can see, he's a product of Bayern Munich, then moved to Augsburg, so moved from between the 2 youth setups. Then Augsburg, from the youth setup, moved to Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg sent him out on loan last season to Fortuna Düsseldorf in the Zweite. He did very well there, and this season it's already proven that he belongs, despite not starting in every game. He scored 8, and like I said, a lot of similarities with Demirovic. Better progression, I think, though, in open spaces compared to Demirovic. Demirovic progresses off the ball. Pejcinovic can progress with the ball in those spaces, Good use of his body to protect the ball, like Demirovic. More mobility and versatility compared to him. But a style of play in the final third, in terms of touches, shot selection, is very similar. Also, if you look at the sock selection, I think he has similarities with Fulkrug in a certain sense. Like Demirovic shots a lot inside the box, but Pejcinovic can also find the space moving the ball like Fulkrug does. If you remember him at Euro 2024 when he scored against Scotland, that trait is very similar to Fulkrug. A physical number 9 that has a very powerful shot, and when he has an opportunity, even on the edge of the box, he shoots. But as you can see, similar body type. And this season, like I said, 9 starts, 8 as a sub, played 8 as a sub. So he's not consistently their top 9. He has competition there 2 games where he
wow.
didn't play. So yeah, there's a lot of competition. Maybe we can call Gilavogi to bring in a good word in. Looking at our past deals with Wolfsburg, another good player here, Mayer. As you can see,
Yeah.
plays with one of Loki's fan favorites,
I know.
Patrick Wimmer. You can see at the chart, in terms of the difference with Demirovic here in a certain sense. I'm not saying right now Demirovic is way better because he has more experience, but Pejcinovic is very similar in a certain sense. Scored 2 headers this season and 6 goals inside. But as you can see, he can score from other positions in that sense. So very similar to Demirovic in this sense. Another one remaining in the Balkans, Andre Ilic from Union Berlin, 25 years old. Avlaovic type, stays forward near the center back, tries to hold up the ball, similar to Mecha, in the sense, and pass it to a teammate, gets involved in the build-up. Main threat is inside the box, of course, where he usually either finishes with first touch, so a poacher we're talking about, or uses his strength in aerial duels. And last season, he moved there actually, I think, in January from Lille on loan. Then they got him on a permanent. No, actually, I think it was a full season. Yeah, it was a full season. We remember he scored 7 last season. And this season he scored just 1, but if you look at him, he has 9 assists this season. So when I mean hold up and pass to a teammate, it means that he is very reliable in that. He is very reliable with that specific trait. As you can see, they play with a 3 because we know that already. It's like our second team now with the Doki, with the Roter, all the players that we talked about recently, Quelfeld. They have Oliver Burke and Burcu behind them here in this case. There's also another player that we're going to talk about very shortly, and that I leave him to Loki. I think I know who I'm talking about.
He's already on the screen, don't worry.
Yeah. We have Ilic. Here in this case, just 1 goal scored, but like I said, I think he's very reliable as an option compared to Mecha in that sense. He's very similar to Mecha in that sense. Very effective with assists. But last season he scored 7. This season he scored just 1, but he has played more for the team. He sacrificed a lot for the team, and that doesn't convert into his goal output so far. Next one, I think, Loki.
Yeah, Ilya Sansa. Yeah, he's I actually fingered him last season at Paderborn when he was playing for Paderborn. In the Zweite Bundesliga. I said that right?
Zweite, yeah. Zweite Bundesliga.
German. I'm getting better. But yeah, he's seriously impressive. He's for a start, he's played just a lone striker with a back 3 this season. He's played as one of the 2 strikers. He's also played as the one behind the 2 strikers, like we showed in the last graphic, one of the 2 behind the striker. And at times he had played, I believe, with wingers, and he's played on the left as well. So straight away, instant versatility, straight away. What he's good at, as you can see, 6'4". I mean, he's massive. And you look, I always think of modern tropes in terms of what you're looking for a player in the Premier League. And obviously that is physicality. Ideally, you want a physical player with great mentality and technical skills. Now, this is a player who has all the physical marks. He's very quick. And I mean quick. Very strong as well. He's comfortable in wide areas, in 1v1 situations, but is also comfortable in central areas with his back to goal. He's that type of player. There's still work to do. He can go quiet in games. He can go long periods without touching the ball. His movements and stuff like that. Just that experience side of it needs to develop for 100%. I think defensively as well. Yeah, he could definitely affect the game more defensively. But if you've not watched this player, if you've not watched Answer, I suggest anyone tries to just look, even if you want to look at his highlights, just to get an idea of what type of player he is. He is for me, how old is he now? 20? 21?
21, Played for the Germany under 21s too,
Yeah, in the next 3 or 4 years, we'll be playing for Germany, in my opinion, and we'll be playing at a top team. It's kind of one of them where go now or you miss out. He is an all-round player. He's a modern all-round player. He suits the way the Premier League works as well. As I saw an account on X, I can't remember what it's called, who was speaking about him the other day, and he said they actually went to watch him in game, And the scouts said it's very impressive him watching him online, but he went to watching him game, and there was a real subtleness in terms of how he played, his attacking movement, his intelligence in the final third, his little movements off defenders, the timing of runs into space, for example, but also his presence as well on the pitch for a young man. And that's why going to games is always important as well. This is a player that I'm convinced is going to go very far in the game. He has just joined there, which obviously would make it difficult. And I'm sure if he stayed on until the summer, there'd be bigger clubs potentially in for him. But quite frankly, looking for a young striker to build your team around for the next few years and get a big profit on in the future, who can keep you in the Premier League and actually maybe set you up in the Premier League and work in the front two, work in a 1, can work out wide, can work in the 10, in a physical team. You know, not like a technical 10, a physical 10 you play the ball into, touch, turn, you know, attack the box kind of thing. He's the ideal package for us in that sense. Especially when you've got a player like Calvert-Lewin there at Metra as well, German international. He's done all that. That experience for a young player like that will be so important. I mean, he's excellent. And honestly, it's so rare these days that you find a player that is really good as a winger in a 1v1, but can also be a physical number 9. And he genuinely can. He has to improve decision making. There's a few things, obviously, the things you would climatize with young players, decision making at times, you know, trying to do too much at times, taking shots from wild angles. Although, to be fair, he scored some absolute screamers this season. So I guess he's got credit to do that. But his game can be defined. It can be refined as well, especially defensively. There's little moments as well, knowing where you should be defensively and stuff like this. But as a project and a player to build around, mate, he'd be so good.
Yeah, and he can play as a second striker too, like you said, you know, behind the 9. So, like for example, Calvert-Lewin and him, like in the position that Okafor plays currently, you know, in
that would be dangerous.
Yeah. But like I included him, you know, because I think that if we are willing to put in a bid for Strand Larsen, you know, and have a conversation about Strand Larsen, then a player like him, you know, you can get him probably for less. But of course, Union Berlin, you know, that we've seen, like Offenheim accepted that bid for Rotter, you know. Of course, he's just moved there from Paderborn, the team of Farke supports, you know, the team from Farke's area. But yeah, if you can manage to put in a large bid for Strand Larsen, then you can surely put in a lower bid, but consistent for Ilya Sansa, you know, before the big clubs will get him next summer, or not like next summer, but probably in the future. So yeah, moving on. I'm going with this one. Roberto Fernandez from Espanyol, you know, we're talking about a more versatile one, very different from the ones we talked before, you know. He's an hard-working 9, good with pressing, moves around the final third a lot, and then attacks him behind, you know, either in front, you know when a player moves a lot in the final third, then sprints, you know, trying to drag a centre-back on one area, then trying to sprint in front of him, you know, to get the through ball from the midfielders, the wing-backs, you know, or the long ball between the two centre-backs. That's the type of player we're talking about. You know, I think hold up is not his best trait, nor aerial duels. So we're talking about a player that, if he moves, for example, to Leeds, can be seen as a second striker in that sense. Can operate, of course. I wasn't reading, but yeah, can operate as a second striker too, looking at his progression and support. Again, a comparison, similarities with Jamie Vardy, the way he moves, but of course he's more physical compared to Vardy, you know. But yeah, that's the type of player, the type of striker, you know, in that sense, you know, the very clever one, you know, that moves a lot, seems to fade into a game, then boom, sprints and sees the opportunity, you know, in that sense. Scored 4 goals this season for Espanyol. Playing as a 9, you know, he has 3 players behind him: Edu Exposito, Per Emilia, and Tyrese Dolan. So he frees a lot of space for them for running behind, you know, from the wingers in that sense, like we tried to do with Pirou when we were in the Championship. In that regard, 15 starts, 7 sub-in, you know, 4 goals, 1 from outside, 1 header, 1 inside, and 1 penalty. But yeah, the type is Jamie Vardy type, despite a stronger and taller body, you know, compared to Vardy. This one is all yours.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's another player that I'm shocked He's still played Matthias Ablein. Is it Ablein or Ablein?
Matthias Ablein. Yeah.
Ablein. Yeah, French. Yeah, Ablein. Right. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, he's again, we spoke about him in the summer, I believe.
Yeah.
One thing I really like about him is his dynamic movement. That's one thing that stood out to me. But what I love about him, and the thing that stood out watching this player, was his decision making. So, for example, game IQ, when you're dropping deeper, you know what decision to make. You don't look lost. You don't look hesitant on the ball. He's a player that makes decisions quickly. He doesn't take too many touches if he doesn't need to. But this comes down again to the decision. If he drops deeper and he's got space to turn and drive, he's confident doing that. He can play the ball out wide, then attack the space. If he needs to drop deeper, first time touch, play it back, he'll do that. Also can attack the back line. I think a very, very mobile striker that can move, find spaces, attack spaces quite well. Kind of in a certain sense, Metcher's a good mover. He finds the channels well, stuff like that. He's a little more technical though. One thing I did like about him that is quite rare for strikers these days, he's got a really good pass range. I think he got an assist from not facing the goal, but knowing first time when he dropped deep that winger's going to run him behind. And first time he passed it without even checking because he knew instinctively where that runner would be, where the space would be. Just one of them really active mobile strikers that is very busy. Someone you can definitely mold around and shape a team around a little bit. I wouldn't say he's the most clinical, to be fair. I think he can be a little wasteful. I did see the games I watched, he missed some chances, but he's always in the right area. He's always willing. He doesn't batter his confidence. His movement in the box is sharp. It's quick. It is. I'm trying to think of a comparison. I don't know if you can think of one on top of your head, mate.
I've put Gonzalo Ramos as a comparison.
Sorry. Yeah, there you go.
And I said also, of course, different player, different way of interpreting the position. But I said when he's on the wing, his dribbling and sense of urgency is similar to Solomon's for me.
Yeah, I just want to say as well, as you said at the bottom there, brilliant technique, prefers turns to hold up. Like you said, a guy who will drop deep quickly, make the pass, then where's the space in behind? Where's that space?
Yeah.
How can I affect the game quickly, then attack the space? Not someone who's happy to just sit deep and just be a bounce player. I'll do it quickly with purpose and I'll attack the space. Yeah, so for me, again, another player who would just suit the way we play. I think he worked really well. And as you can see, played on the right of a 4-3-3 there. Kind of thinking of that. Sorry, 4-3-3. What am I talking about? A 3-4-3.
3-4-3.
3-5. Yeah, I can't speak.
No, 3-4-3. Yeah. He's playing on both sides. Recently, he's also playing in the last 2 games on the right. But put the position he played the most, this season. So on the left,
which shows versatility, confidence in 1v1s as well. That other side of the game, we kind of have a Calvert-Lewin. You want someone that can do similar things but be a different profile. For example, this guy could, like Mitch does, attack the spaces wider, go 1v1 out wide as well. It's really important that we have a balance because obviously we've got Okafor kind of playing that role. And for me, he's not quite adapting to the intensity of the Premier League at the moment. He's a little inconsistent. And we need someone who can probably fill that role. That's the key one. We're not looking for someone that can do Calvert-Lewin stuff, obviously. We're looking for someone who can supply Calvert-Lewin and help Calvert-Lewin's game get even better. And he's the type of player that is very adaptable in that sense and could definitely work really well with a striker, especially one like Calvert-Lewin, who's easy to work with, let's be honest. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. So from France, we move to the Netherlands. I say whether you want to do this one, Lucky, or you want me to.
You go, mate. I'll add in.
Look at the comparison that I've made. May remind you of Luciano Becchio with his movements, an ability to stay forward and go straight at the goal when the ball gets in his area. Opportunist and poacher, good physicality and aggression. Can be for me near the box a better version of Pirot. I think he has similarities with Pirot, both looking at this physicality. And of course, different body type compared to Pirot. Pirot, I think, really feels the intensity and pressure in the Premier League because also of his body type, that is more suited in different leagues. I think Ueda will convert immediately on the other end, especially because of his experience and international experience too, and the body type to the Premier League. But yeah, it's when I watch him, it reminds me. It was difficult to find a comparison actually, but I wanted to find one that really Leeds fans can understand the type of player And the one that got into my mind, was Luciano. Absolutely, I think he reminds me a lot of how Becchio used to play. Score 19 goals this season. That's mental, honestly, to be fair, because 18 games in the Eredivisie, 18 goals. Europa League 5 and 1 goal. Also looking at the goal, look at this. Look, every goal basically is a poacher. He's like Luciano used to be. In the box, used to be clinical, and that's why the comparison. The way he moves, the opportunism in the box, very similar for me to Luciano. And again, I've seen other people in the past saying, "Oh, he can be an attacking midfielder, a second striker." I don't think so. Honestly, I think Queda is a made number 9. As you can see, look at the 19 goals where they happened. 6 headers, just one from outside, just on the edge of the box. All the others, poacher finishes with 12 with his feet and 6 with his head.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say on that. On headers as well. He scores with his head. He's not ridiculously tall, but he's got a really good timing of his jump. So he competes with defenders really well and wins a lot of headers, which is rare to see. When you're not, 6'3" or 6'4". Yeah, I just quickly to add, and then I'll let you finish, mate. Sorry, like he is a modern poacher, and I think that's actually a role that's not too prominent in football these days. To be fair, a box poacher. I was looking at all the strikers you did it before in the Premier League list. I'm looking in now and going, how many actual poachers are in there? You could probably argue Calvert-Lewin's probably the biggest poacher profile. Someone that just loves the box. And this guy does, man. I mean, what I really like about him is his calmness as well in these moments in the box, even in crowded areas. He'll take a little touch, he'll shift the ball, he'll just find the goal, he'll find the corners, strikes the ball really well. Yeah, I just want to add that. Really composed player.
Yeah, and we never talk about him, honestly, in the past. I think he was probably, I might be wrong, in the extended list of last summer when we did all that list, but the one we're going to talk about actually was covered in the past year. Were you going to add something?
I was just going to say, so last year he was kind of in and out of the Feyenoord team. They had a lot of good strikers. He had some injuries as well. So I saw him, but he didn't quite play enough. But this year, obviously, he's the main man. He's playing. He's staying fit. So he's scoring for fun and he looks really good.
Yeah, because they had Santiago Jimenez. Then he moved to AC Milan in January. Another one that we mentioned when he was at Excelsior, Excelsior, Then he moved because we were in the Championship at the time. He said, "Oh, Troy Parrott," and people, Troy Parrott, the one that used to play with MK Dons, Preston, Millwall. It wasn't good. Ipswich, he played in League One too. He played in League One. So people reminded that Troy Parrott, now he has changed. He has changed. He was very good in the Netherlands. Got the move, to AZ. Then at the start of last season, like I said, entrusted by AZ as the replacement of Vangelis Pavlidis. He has a lot of similarities with the Greek in his game up front. Though the current Benfica number 9 is more physical and target 9 compared to Parrott, as the Irishman and Irish fans will know, grown muscularly compared to when he was playing in the FL, MK Dons, Millwall, Preston, operates now more as an all-around player in the final third and likes to use his sprint and body in 1v1 situations. Good clinicality, like he proved, at the Puskás Arena in Budapest in the playoff against Hungary. This season, again, played more games than Weda, 19 goals like him, because, of course, Conference League and Conference League qualifiers, in the summer. But yeah, I think we're talking about a player that can be a very good solution as a second striker. And we know that AZ, looking at the past, Atsidiakos, Kerkes, Pavlidis, of course, Cop Miners. No, not this one, the brother, the one playing at Juventus. They are a selling club. They are a selling club. Möller-Wölfe, they are a selling club. If you put in a bid, I think they might accept it. They might accept it. And again, 15 goals inside, very good movement all around, 3 penalties and 1 header. So again, another good solution. If you want to add something, Lucky, otherwise we'll.
Yeah, just one thing, mate. You touched on it as well. It's the sprints for me that make Troy Parrott really good. I think you look at Calvert-Lewin, he's more of a box mover, little movements in the box, Troy Parrott is a guy that will sprint from deep. That's where he gets his chances. That's where he creates space. So that's something that stood out. Literally, drop deep, give the ball, then it's the sprint, that 10, 15-yard sprint into the space, direct. You need players that are going to find him as well. But the sprint stood out for me. I think when you're playing in a high-intensity league like Premier League, I think finding strikers that perform a lot of high sprints to effect is something that can really help in, obviously, transition or even just to break lines. So, yeah, good sprinter, I guess.
Yeah. Hopefully, Ireland can sprint into the World Cup with him.
Yeah.
Go on, Lucky.
Do you know what?
That you like this player a lot. So.
I like him, but I've not seen that much. I can't remember what it was, half a game, and he impressed me in that. So what I saw, you add to this because I've not seen him that much. This is just from a little bit. Yeah. Probably, like you said there, you said it literally at the start. A box player again, a player that relies on his kind of understanding of where to be in the box to finish. Not the most kind of effective, I think, off the ball in terms of creativity. Very much a box player. But again, like Troy Parrott, very sharp in the box. His movement to get into the box is key. So you're always trying to kind of find himself in good areas in the box. And then it's just about finding that finish in the box. But that's, again, looking at what we need. We don't necessarily need a specific profile. We don't need a creative striker. We just need someone that's going to complement what we're doing, right? And when you have Calvert-Lewin in there as well, and you have another player that's good in the box, it gives more options, especially when we put a lot of crosses in. So that's what I saw from the short time. It was the kind of not too involved in build-up. He wasn't really, kind of stayed on the last man, occupied the centre-backs. But the second the ball got into the final third, he played between the centre-backs every time. Little movement, attack the box. That's what I saw. So you give me the detail.
Yeah, no, I compared him to Rasmus Højlund, the one at Napoli, not the one at Manchester United, because now that he's returned to his real level, at Napoli, it reminds me a lot, like you pointed out, the run in the final third, the way he moves, the positioning, it reminds me a lot of Rasmus Højlund in that sense. They have two good strikers at Club Brugge, Romeo Mermant and Nicola Tresoldi. I think Tresoldi in perspective is better. I didn't include him honestly because I think he has just moved there from Hanover last summer. He moved there, so I think they will try to maximize a sale. And I remember the negotiations for Ardon Yashari for his move to AC Milan between AC Milan and Brugge. And Club Brugge can really, really be good negotiators in terms of trying to get every last penny from the other club. So I think it will be difficult for Tresoldi. But you pointed out pretty well about Vermont. I think that I will say he very similar to Højlund. I think when he has the opportunity, following at the play, gets the ball, shoots instantly. A good finisher, 6 inside the box with his feet again, 3 outside and one header. So I think the comparison with Højlund is a good one. Another one remaining in Belgium, Ho Young-Yu. Genk used to play also in Scotland for Celtic, then moved to Genk. For me, when I saw him, like I said, this is the Korean Ciro Immobile because 9 with decent pace, often moves towards the ball in the final third, plays a lot, sacrifices a lot. Like I pointed out, a lot of obscure work for the team. Plays a lot of 1-2s, like one, pass the ball, sprint, and then give the ball back to me. Uses his body to turn around with the ball. So not all that play, but then give me the ball and I turn around using my body with the ball. Good balance and eye for goal. Scored 10 this season at Genk at 24, so not that young. Has a lot of experience in Korea from Suwon Blue Wings, then moved to Celtic and then to Genk. But a different type of profile. A 9 hard working for the team, sacrifices a lot for the team. As you can say, very similar to Immobile. He has a eye for goal every time he has the opportunity. At some pace, he shoots 2 from outside, a lot of inside, but from the edge of the box, basically, almost from outside. And no headers, so everyone with every goal with his foot, basically. But it reminded me a lot of Ciro Immobile. So that's why I included him. this one, Loki, I think you can talk about him, because at the start, honestly, I have to be honest, I didn't like him when it was mentioned last summer.
Yeah, I agree.
found him really not more versatile. Now my opinion has slightly changed, but I still think that he can be effective as a lone 9 in the box. But Mike suffered a different intensity and pressure in the Premier League because of his not efficient pace. He's not very, very fast, to be fair.
Yeah, that was obviously, I know a lot of people spoke about him last summer. That was my issue, was the intensity in which he played. He's not the most kind of, what's the word, agile mover. Not that it's not like he's sluggish, or he's just not the most agile. He doesn't turn quick. He doesn't move that quick. Obviously he can run into channels. He can play at feet. He can sprint in behind. But we're talking about these quick. Looking at some players, we talked about that real quick, definitive movement. He's not got that. So that was a bit of a worry for me, especially coming to the Premier League, where you need that standout kind of physical power, that standout trait. He didn't really have that from what I saw. But having said that, what he is a handful to play against. He is physical. He's strong, very strong, by the way. But also someone that, even though he's not the quickest, he had some decent feet for a big guy who's not the quickest. And when we say not the quickest, again, we're not talking, for example, Joe Perreault. We're talking, the standards of what the Metro or Calvert-Lewin, quite quick.
I said Avonia for me.
Well, yeah, true.
Like him.
Yeah. He's a good mover. He's a good mover, though. He found himself quite a lot in the games I watched. He found himself quite a lot in 1v1 situations with the goalkeeper, because what he did do well, although maybe not the quickest, his movement was quite sharp in terms of decision making, and timing of the run was pretty good. But yeah, there is just an intensity thing there that would be a little kind of not too sure for me. But I like the player. I think there's a lot there. Good finisher, to be fair. Again, in the box, a problem in the box. As you can see, again, set pieces would be a problem. Anywhere in the box, and we're looking for players here. We're not looking for, like I said, these crazy creative. We're looking for players that can score goals in the box. Physical team. We need a physical player. This guy is that. Again, he's not perfect, but if you're working in the front two, you can kind of nullify your weaknesses. Calvert-Lewin could do more of the running, for example, in that sense, the more sprints. This guy can focus on holding the ball up, winning fouls, just attacking the area, to be fair. So yeah, I do like him. For me, there's others that suit it better, just because I think the others play with more intensity than him. But he is a threat. He's a good striker. I mean, I know there's a lot of clubs in Europe that are quite interested in, from what we've been told from online. There's definitely that kind of physical element to him as well, which massively helps. And he scores goals at the end of the day. He's a finisher. He's in the box. If you're in the box and you're a good finisher, you'll score goals. And he does do that. If you want to add, mate.
Yeah, I think that we'd be interested in him. We're talking about, again, the case of Strand Larsen, of course, because a lot of clubs are interested. So it will mean big spending for a player that hasn't played in the top leagues. However, so the price, you might try to negotiate on that, but yeah, I think it would be heavy spending. I know that Clayton is another one that we talked about and you like. In this sense, I compared him to Joe Linton before his transfer to center midfield.
Yeah, man. Another one, just kind of, just physically, he's there. He's all there physically. Strong player, but he's just quick sprinter. Not the quickest kind of top speed over long distances, but over them short, sharp movements, spinning the defender, attacking the spaces in behind, in the box, that little movement to separate from the defender, create separation, gets goals from that. Again, can hold the ball up. It can be a bit of a bullet in a scrappy game. It'd be great. We need them profiles in scrappy games where the striker's not getting a lot of service, who can do a lot with a little, like Calvert-Lewin does. He's very good at that. Calvert-Lewin might not touch the ball for 10 minutes. He'll be in the box. He'll score a goal or win you the game. Clayton is that type of player. He's not the most involved. He's not going to do super creative things in build-up. He's going to stand on the last man. He'll draw the defender out if he has to. He'll do a physical duel with him back to goal if he needs to. He'll play the ball out. He'll attack the box. That's his profile. I just want to go through some kind of, from what I've seen anyway, my perception. Again, looking at kind of good chunks of playing. So again, he's not had 5 or 6 years of scoring. He's had some problems, obviously. But in the 23-24 season, he got 24 times, got 8 goals. But then last season's where he really played 31 times, 14 goals last year. That's what took my notice. But this season, it looks like he's on track for even more. 17 games, 10 goals, 4 assists. So he seems to have found his kind of consistent form now. Again, a player I don't think that'd be too much. 27 years of old. So it's 27 years of old. It's 27 years of age.
Yeah.
What am I doing? But again, Matt, we're not looking for particular players that are going to blow the world away with the signing. We're looking for productive players for me that would work in what we need right now. Would he be an improvement on behind Calvert-Lewin? I think he would. I don't think he can give you the dynamism that Mecha can, for example, but I think he can give you the box threat, 100%, that physical box threat. If Calvert-Lewin, for example, Mecha and him are not really like for like, but if Calvert-Lewin's out, you could bring in a player like this who is different, but can do similar things physically, centrally as well in the middle. I mean, yeah, perfect. So a player I just liked. It might not work. Again, there's an intensity thing there at times. Would these players work in there's mixed results for players in Portugal, strikers, definitely. I'm aware of that. I'm not saying this would be the answer. I'm just saying it's a player I actually quite like. In the last 2 years, has improved his game a lot and looks quite impressive in whenever I've seen him. I think he'd suit the Prem.
There's always that talk, when Gyökeres signed for Arsenal, when Pablo now signed for West Ham. So there's always going to be that talk about the Portuguese league. From Portugal to Switzerland, Alessandro Vogt from St. Gallen, the club we acquired Isaac Smith from last season. 20 years old, or 20 years of age. Both can work in that sense. But
copy of me.
Switzerland under 21 international, of course. This one again, we're talking about. I really like the player, honestly. That's why I included him, and I think we might see him very soon in the Bundesliga. A Higuain type, fast and versatile, likes to use his body and turn around, attacking, progressing to the space with the ball. Good 1v1 attacker, not a lone striker, so he can work well as a second striker with another 1-2, like he does at St. Gallen at 3-5-2. So very used to that formation. I think he'll appear very soon too for Switzerland. Score 8 goals this season in the league. The 2 goals in the cup, honestly, I won't count them because they were against a team that they beat 13-0. Wallenstadt, it was like a team from an amateur side, like a Premier League team meeting a team from the Isthmian League, in that sense. But that's why I included, because I really like the player. I think he has potential to really develop. So if you're looking to spend less money for PSR reasons, I think he can be good, because I think Bundesliga clubs have eyes on him for sure. He's next door, in Switzerland. Vogt, as you can see, 3-5-2 with Balde. 9 goals inside the box, 1 header. Another thing that he does at times is get me the ball on the box. I won't shoot the first time. I'll try to get you 1v1, move the ball and shoot. It's remember what Higuain used to be. He has that trait, less physical than Higuain, of course, but that type of striker in that sense. Moving on, I think this is my final one. Jean-Bart Gruber from Ferencváros. 3 caps with Magyarország with Hungary. Nice. 21 years old. Style of football can be modeled on Ademola Lookman. So you have the notion of a second striker that likes to start wide or move it centrally, then without giving any signs, any stationary position to the defenders, basically operates behind the striker, free roams, like I just said, prefers to go on the right, where he can go then 1v1 on his preferred left foot. Very versatile and lively, has the potential to play as a winger too. Again, and diamond in the rough, unfinished product. He's been playing all his, apart from a brief spell in the youth teams of Basel, been playing all his life in Hungary, Győr, Puskás Academia, Zalaegerszeg, MTK, Budapest, the other team, or one of the other teams of Budapest, along with Újpest, Honvéd, and Ferencváros, of course. He was on loan to them last season. Returned to Ferencváros, scored 8 goals. And that's what I want to point out, actually, because 9 starts, 11 games as a substitute, 8 goals. 4 penalties, of course, so penalty taker, but the 3 goals from outside the box where he started on the right, turn inside on his left foot and shoot and goal. That's why I included him. I think he's a very underrated player. Can play as a winger, but can also play like Barnabas Varga now as the starting number 9 of Hungary. Just moved to Athens. So basically, he's not there anymore, but used to play behind Varga, so moving all around, especially on the right. Alex Stott to move to Bournemouth. You know that Robbie Keane is the manager of Ferencváros. I don't know. Actually, I have 2 more. Mihail Ivanovic. Not much to say about him because people know him. You know, he was there in the list already last summer. Marcus Thuram type for me. So a tall number 9, but fast. That's what I mean when I say a Marcus Thuram type. Heavily involved in the build-up, both with movements towards the ball and long balls. You know, good poacher in the box, can also engage in 1v1s and make runs with the ball, but can improve, you know, the timing of his movements. 26 appearances in the Championship, 6 goals this season, all in the box. So yeah, another inclusion from last summer returning. You know, I think he's a player that, considering his age, 21 international for Serbia, I think he's another player that can really rise in the future. I know that he doesn't have a lot of shooters in England compared to the level he can be in the future. He's gone very under the radar, but I think he's a player that can really improve. The final one actually is from Serbia to Montenegro. Andrej Kostic, AC Milan are interested in him. Voltemade type, physical, also agile in narrow areas. Big compared to Vlahovic in Serbia for the similar body and the fact that both played and he's playing for Partizan. Certainly showing signs of a capability to be more into the build-up, involved into the build-up and have impact from different areas. 20 appearances, 8 goals in the Superliga Serbia. Moved there last summer from Budućnost Podgorica from the Montenegrin League. Another thing is 4 starts, 22 games as a sub, 9 goals. So the majority of these goals has come off the bench. I know that AC Milan are interested, but the negotiations are not progressing. So looking at what Aston Villa did with Kosta Nedeljkovic, another player that moved to RB Leipzig, Andrej Maksimovic from the other team of Belgrade, you know, Crvena Zvezda, Red Star, something can happen here too. We mentioned last week Nikola Simic, Kostic too at Partizan. I think is a player that we'll hear soon. We'll hear something very positive very soon in the landscape of European football. Yeah, and this was my final one. Yeah,
nice man. Yeah, thanks, well, man. There we have it. I'll just, before we end, I'll quickly show. I'll just show people. I'm not going to talk too much about it. People want to screenshot and look themselves, they can. I just want to show my list, which again, yeah.
Because both we had something, someone's one of them, someone in common, you know, in my list, some names in common. That's why we
had quite a few. Yeah, exactly. It works better that way, I think, to be fair. But yeah, ignore the red because I've not updated them, so ignore that. So this is the problem we have with strikers. Prem rating. They're all. It's my colour system. No one needs to understand it. Red is bad. Green is better. That's all you need to know. Yeah, that's the problem I kind of had with a lot of these strikers. There's a few in here that I think will be more summer targets. You know, we know Florian Balogun, of course, at Monaco is playing pretty consistent striker. I quite like him, to be fair, but would be one would have to be a more established Premier League team. Of course, he'll have to suit us doing well. Terry Muffy is one I want to talk about because there's a lot of chat on him. My issue with this player simply is the lack of playing time in the last kind of 2 years. He had a bad injury last season. I think it was his ACL or it was a really bad injury. I can't remember what it was, but he missed basically the whole season. And of course, this season there's problems at Nice, which make him he's not playing as much as he should. I do like him. I like him as a profile, but quite frankly, I don't think we need to look for a player that's not really played at this point. I think that's a risk. I think we need players that are consistently playing, scoring goals. But I do like the player. I do like the profile. Joshua Duffus is one interesting. Actually, last season for work, where I used to work, We actually watched an under-21s game for Brighton. That's when he was there. And he's one to watch in the future. Not now, just highlighted him because I want to mention him for the future. He's one to watch. He's a good player. He's going to develop really well. He's doing quite well in France in limited time. So he's definitely one to watch. Lucas Dassin as well. We spoke about him in the Sky report in the summer.
No.
I'm just not too sure profile-wise at the moment, to be fair. Just one that's there. What would you say, Andre?
Yeah, I think probably last summer because we were talking about a 4-3-3.
Yeah,
work
it's
better
different
than
now.
3-5-2. Yeah, I think he's better off the wing.
Yeah.
Or as a modern pivot, like we try to turn Pirot into, as a false 9. In that sense, he can work better. But we have changed the system in the meantime. So yeah.
Now, obviously, Demirovic. This guy. Have I spelled that? Is it Ragnar? Is it?
Ragnar yeah. 27.
Yeah. I can't remember if I added an N in there by accident. No, it's right. Yeah. So this is a guy that, again, when I watched Tanaka, or it might have been the season after in the Bundesliga, the Weiter Bundesliga, so the second tier, he was playing. Honestly, I don't know how he's not had more attention. He's played for Germany as well. A few years ago, he played for Germany. Such a physical player, physical striker, gets goals, gets assists, real presence. I just put him in that. I like him. He's just a profile I want people to know about. He's just a good player. Underappreciated, underrated, in my opinion. Just some names, yeah. As the end, there's a few here. Obviously, this is from last season. I've not updated it. A lot of these are from last season. I've not updated them. Quite frankly, I haven't had time. Yeah, this is one I want to speak about. How do you say his name? Tim Lemperle. Lemperle?
Yeah.
Getting there. My German's getting better, Andre.
Because of Farke.
Yeah, another player who impressed me in the Weiter Bundesliga, to be fair. Probably is last season or the season before. I can't remember. Seasons get muddled up in my head. But has now made the move to the Bundesliga and is actually doing really well for Hoffenheim. He's playing football. He has been linked to some bigger teams and he's still 23 years old. Again, quite a solid overall all-around profile. Good striker for ball. Likes to shoot early. The edge of one of them players that, if you give him half a space in the box, he's not going to take too many touches. He'll find that angle to shoot. Scores a lot of goals from it, taking early shots. He's just a player I like, one to watch out for. Again, Jonas Finn.
They have at Hoffenheim. They have the new Lewandowski, Visnika Aslani.
Yeah. Yes. He's very good. He is very. I didn't put him because he's going far, isn't he? Let's be honest.
He's going big.
He's going very big. Yeah. Obviously, Jonas Finn is injured. He's been injured for a while. Adam Hlozek, is that right? Hlozek. Also injured. Yeah. I like him as a profile. I think we mentioned him in one of the scouting reports. But he has been injured all season, I believe, which is unfortunate. And then just a few young ones. Now, this is the crazy one. Ediki Sharif has been linked.
Siddiqui, yeah.
Siddiqui. Oh, see, this is why I don't trust myself.
Don't worry.
There we go.
Siddiqui Sharif.
This player has been linked today to Wrexham for 19 million. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
Crazy, genuinely.
19.
But Palace are also linked to him as well as a replacement for Mateta. I like him a lot. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you've not watched him, he's a very good young player, very good profile, very physical, very quick. You know the type. We spoke about him a lot in this video. He suits that for me. Good player. Another one as well, Prosper Peter. It might be Petel. Petel? I'm guessing it's Petel. He's French. Yeah. Another one, not ready, but young player, as I see. He's not ready yet. Young player, one to watch out for the future. Just some here. Yeah, he's Brian Broby. That's nice. IX. What am I on about? Ignore my spelling.
Move to RB Leipzig.
Yeah. Like I said, I've not updated any of this. I've just updated the names. I've not had time. I'm going to do that later. But yeah, there's a few names here that we've already mentioned. A few young ones as well. Zibiri as well is one to watch out for the future. But yeah. And Moses Ustor as well is having a good season in Austria. So yeah, just a few there.
Francolino, everybody's talking about him.
There's no we ain't getting him.
He's been linked to Bayern Munich.
That's why he's red. There's no chance for getting him. Yeah, he's a very good player. Very good player. But that's it. People feel free to screenshot. But yeah, I think that's it, mate. Yeah. Anything else to add?
I think it was the final one, this one, because realistically, other positions, I don't think we got a new keeper now that he's going to alternate between Darlow if Darlow makes a mistake and he's going to try to reintroduce Perry. But we're not selling Perry right now or loaning him out after the investment of last summer. Doesn't make sense PSR wise too. So it's going to be Darlow till the end of the season if Perry is not deemed good enough to start. So I don't think we got a new goalkeeper. Of course, James Strasford will make absolute sense, but we will need to put the wages and the expenditure of Perry off the window, throw that off the window, that investment in the summer. And I don't think that is happening, because then you will have 5 goalkeepers actually, because we need to remember that Ilham Meslier is still at the club. Ilham Meslier is still at the club. He's going to leave for a free transfer probably next summer. Honestly, he needs to probably think wisely about what's happening, because at the start of the season, he's from 2000, was born in 2000, so he's now going to turn into 26 years old. You really want to spend a full season not involved with the first team? You're going to leave on a free, but then who's going to pick you up? Who's going to pick you up? Probably as a second choice, as a backup goalkeeper, if you have a good agent. Otherwise, you will need to start lower. That's the problem with him. So if I were him, of course, we will try to get some money at least in the January transfer window. So I think he's staying till the end of the season. But the other thing should have been, for him, like try to find a solution in order to maybe terminate the contract and get a move right away to start playing, because you're gonna turn into a 26-year-old this year. So Meslier, Kearns, Darlow, and Perry. Add, for example, James Stratford is 5 goalkeeper of the club. That will be 5. You need one of them, one of those 4 to go out before you can bring in James Stratford, for example. So very integrated,
Yeah. Just to quickly end, I just want, because we've not mentioned it, Romano Schmid or Schmad. I've heard so many. I listened to one of the games of the day, and it was Schmid. So it might be Schmid. It might be Schmid. It's hard to kind of. What's your pronunciation of it? Do you think?
I think it's Romano Schmid.
Schmid.
For me.
All right.
We can. I can.
We'll have a look. But I just want to talk about him real quick, because there's a lot of. I don't know if we're going to get him. I don't know what's going on with that. But just profile. So there's a lot of comparisons to Aronson. I think he's exactly the opposite type of player that Aronson is in terms of profile. In terms of position, obviously similar. Aronson is a consistent, aggressive mover around the pitch. Schmid is very much a short distance sprinter. That's what he does. That's how he closes down. That's how he finds spaces. Whereas Aronson is a consistent guy who will run. Schmid will get his turnovers by good positional, starting in a good position and sprinting to 3 yards to close the man down. That's how he does it. Very different players. Doesn't work as hard, is not the right term. Doesn't run as much as Aronson. Doesn't cover as much ground as Aronson at all. Also on the ball, they're completely different. Schmid is extremely composed. He can drive with it. People talking about that's not his main game. He doesn't run far distances with the ball. He's not going to sprint 20, 30 yards up the pitch. He'll take a guy on if he's close to him, when he's under pressure. He'll beat the man. Yeah. But his main game, he's a conductor in the final third. He looks for passes. Everything he does is forward-thinking, creative passes. That's what he wants to do in every action. Honestly, every action. Yeah. Very different to Aronson. Good player, like him, just to clarify. But very different to Aronson. People comparing them, they're very different, in my opinion. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it could have been more compared to probably, of course, looking at the signing of Buonanotte. We have covered that position now. It would have been Schmid would have been the perfect number 10 probably in the system we were playing last season, 100%. Because he's that player. A similar player in the Bundesliga is Paul Nebel. And another one, I think, it can be compared to this remaining in Germany, Merlin Röhl for Everton, I think they have similarities too. So he's mainly a playmaker. Aronson is turning into a playmaker, but he's more like energizing playmaker, energizing pressure. Schmid is more conservative in a certain sense compared to Aronson. So different players, but I think we are covered up there, especially now the midfield is stuck. With a 4-3-3. It was a problem. Now with the different formations and also the signing of Buonanotte, you can play different formations and you are more covered. We need more depth at wing back, especially with the Gudmundsson.
We do.
having problems. Like we pointed out, we cannot afford to, if we want to play this system. Now, probably he will move Justin on the other side, Justin and Bogle, or play Byram. But again, you're resorting to adapting players or playing a veteran. If Justin plays probably on the left and Bogle on the right, then it means that probably the centre backs who had problem have recovered. But again, we are always relying on players returning earlier from injury. Like the thing that happened with Rodon at Newcastle, when he got down after playing more than 90 minutes on his first game back from injury. So I think we need to send players, and if that means not spending all that money, for example, on a Strand Larsen, but investing a sum on different players with spending less, that will mean something, honestly. Because for me, the main needs remain a second striker or striker, of course, to alternate, to pair with Calvert-Lewin in different games, a left wing back and a centre back. These are the three needs for me. Because we have covered the one.
Farke was asking the presser, I don't know when you're watching this, but before what day is it? Thursday. On Thursday, Farke was asking the presser about this. It basically, the usual answer at the start about we will get the player if there's the right options. But he did say it is a position we are aware of, that we don't have depth. Goodmanson, of course, we don't know if he's going to miss the game or not. But the point is, we're seeing what we said would happen, unfortunately, which fatigue, injuries. What do we do now is a big player for us. We need a replacement a backup. Sorry. I think it's key. I think it's the most important position still. I do. I don't want a shot in that role. The fear for me is we're plugging gaps and we don't have any depth. At least what we do have up top is we do have a little bit of depth. Fullback, we have none. Yeah. And I want something there as a a keep safe if Goodmanson's injured. But anyway.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there. Go on, mate.
With a very quick joke, of course. I mean, in a good way, because I know that there's people, that are in the industry watching this for sure. But if they need a wing back, tell them to watch the episode of last week.
We've got a few.
We've got a few. If you're short for names, of course, they will have the names. I'm just joking. Yeah.
There's a few in there, lads. If you want to. I'm joking. Yeah, obviously they know all them players are. Obviously, we're kidding, but thank you everyone again. A little longer this week, 2 hours. We talked, didn't we? This will be on. I'll upload this on the Friday. I don't know why I'm saying this because it's not live, but I hope everyone enjoyed. And thank you for the support over the last few weeks. It's been class. Thank you, Andre, for the graphics. Honestly,
thanks,
people. Takes a long time. So shout out. So we're gonna give him a rest now. We'll let Andre chill out for that.
I'm on because of course he's going out tomorrow. That's Friday, but I'm on just podcast. In 1 hour after this, so I'll have a rest from 1 hour. Then I'm back on on this position.
Love that.
On this chair.
Anyway, I have to go because my tram's in like 8 minutes. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Thank you, Andrea. Absolute legend as usual.
Thanks, man.
And see you guys. Bye-bye.
Marching on together. Bye-bye.